Eagles at Redskins, Monday Night Football. McNabb against his old team. Marco, what should bettors be looking at?
Well, you hit it right on the head right out of the start. McNabb, how is he going to react this week? Coming off the bye and all of the things that went on in the last 2 weeks with him and Mike Shanahan, I think it's really going to be a detriment this week, and they're going to have a hard time. But I'm not actually going to play the game. I'm coming with a total in this one.
Okay, so you're saying you expect a underperformance by McNabb. What are you looking at on the Philly side?
Well, Philadelphia, we've got two things here. Philadelphia, Michael Vick returned last week. They got a big win against Indianapolis, a game that, if you look at the final score, looks closer than it was. Philadelphia pretty much had control of that game the whole way, and it got close, as Peyton Manning always does, at the end. Coming off of the injury, generally I feel the quarterback off the injury is better the second week because he got a little bit of the rust off, so you could expect more from Michael Vick this week. But public perception, we always talk about, the first game was an under, 17-12. But everybody looked at that first game, and the takeaway was Michael Vick got hurt.
When you say first game, not first game back with Vick, first game with Washington and
First
Philly.
game against Philly, Washington, the final score was 17-12, won by Washington and McNabb. But Michael Vick got hurt at the end of the first quarter, and a lot of people said, you know, he doesn't get hurt, it's a totally different ball game. So your thinking would be, if it's a totally different ball game, this week it's going to be a high-scoring game. And given what Washington's done in recent games, they've been in some high-scoring games, that would also tend to the over.
Getting a little dizzy.
We ain't going there because, you know, Marco, if everything's pointing one way, we're looking the other way. And I believe the value is in the under here. 2 weeks to prepare. Washington's going to shore up some of those defensive problems. They're going to be better prepared for Vick the second meeting, now that he's going to be in there. Try to contain, keep what we used to say like a spy on Vick. You got to keep a guy on him so that he doesn't get those big runs like he did last week against Indianapolis. And with McNabb, I just don't think he's going to have a good game. I think this is really eating at him. You know, he said all the right things when it first happened, but now we're 2 weeks later and he's still talking about it, and that's a problem. This may be a bigger problem than Brad Childress and Favre.
So it seems like you're giving us two types of analysis here. One is fundamental, which is what I'm hearing is McNabb's going to be distracted. That means underperformance. And Vick is a little overrated. You know, whatever the scenarios are, all that nuance, he's a little overrated. You add up the two, you like the under. All right, that I can connect with. Now you seem to be also adding in some public perception, trappy kind of conversations. I didn't really get what you were trying to say, so let's try to quickly break it down. The total's 42.5. That comes off a little low to me. Not even looking at the game and breaking it all down is 44 I know is a key number. 37 and 44 are the key totals in football. The fact it's under the 44 with Vick against McNabb makes me think the average person is going to look towards the under. Look towards the over. Are you saying basically that you think this number's too low and it feels like it's too easy to bet the over?
Absolutely. I mean, look at last week's score. Philadelphia was in a high-scoring game against Indianapolis. Washington, as I said before, the break had a couple high-scoring games as well. So people are going to look at it that this is going to be a high-scoring game. It's Monday Night Football. People love to bet. There's more people betting. And we know for a fact that if you put 100 people in a room, blindly, more people are going to bet the over than the under because their mentality is they're never out of the ball game.
But that's applicable to every game. And really, when you add it all up, it's only 50.5 to 49.5 typically. There's like that 1 percentage point difference between overs and unders. And it's really only the same with dogs and favorites. As much as people say you should be a dog player. And again, that 1% is a key percent. It's not insignificant. But in this case, the whole McNabb and Vick thing makes the public even more inclined towards the over. And when you have a line that makes you think that the books want over action, that's what you like to fade.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take the under in this game.
What's your official projection?
I have it as a 3-point game. Philadelphia winning 20-17.
Let me throw a few facts out there. we had a big point about McNabb returning to Philly and how those quarterbacks have done really well. And the rationale there is they understand, the road team usually has trouble because they don't know the stadium as well, but you have this quarterback that knows everything about the stadium because he's been there more than 6 years, and that was what the stat was, and it was a potent stat, and it actually worked out in this case. Here, not so much. The emotional intensity is going to be gone. Or at least diminished, you would think. It's not the first meeting. He's already gotten his revenge. And number two, it's not in Philadelphia. It's in Washington. And McNabb's only played a few games there other than when he was with Philly. So I kind of, people may remember us talking about the whole McNabb revenge factor. I don't think it applies near as much this week.
Well, throw one other thing in there, and this is really getting kind of theory-based, but I don't want to pretend that I'm a psychiatrist, but think for a second. McNabb got thrown out of Philly. They said, we don't need you anymore. Your skills are diminishing. We don't want you. We're going,
Yeah, I understand.
Now, the week that all of this turmoil happens when he doesn't finish the game at Detroit, and now you come out of the break, and who do you play but the team that said, we don't want you anymore, and your coach kind of sent you a statement in the last game you played that I didn't have confidence.
If you're a McNabb fan, you think he's going to send a statement now. I'm not a big fan of his, so...
I think it's going to start to creep into his head, really.
Shanahan is 6 of 7 ATS off buys. Now, this is an example. We're not looking at the team stats. We're looking at the coach's stats, which when you have a dominant coach that really affects the team more than the average coach is the way to go, I think. And this has been a road series. 7 of 8 times the road team is covered now. So a few last facts here. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, we're doing a special new thing this week. In the comments section, predict the score of the game. Philadelphia this, Washington that. If you get the score exactly right, you get 100 pregame dollars to spend at pregame.com, just like it's cash, at pregame.com. All you do is post before the game starts in the comments section your prediction for the score. If you win, send an email to support@pregame.com, and you're going to have $100 to spend any way you want. Okay, we're going to be back next week with all the biggest games broken down from a betting perspective.